Well, Roz, as you say, the town's mayor has described this as a 1 in 500 year event, and you can certainly see why. This whole area is completely submerged in water. This is West Ballina, and we're right near the Burns Point ferry, which has been closed. 13 kilometres south is Whitehall Bridge. That is also underwater. And you can see right now some of these residents are using their bikes to get through the floodwaters. Some are making fun of the situation. Others are very much taking it seriously. We have seen people on kayaks trying to get out of here. At certain areas, the water is about 1.5 meters deep. So it's incredibly hard to wade through the water at this stage. Behind me here is the Transport for New South Wales main office. That's where people go and get their licences. That has gone underwater. Just across the road from me is a motel. That area is completely underwater. Residents, some who live there, have had to grab all their stuff and evacuate. The evacuation order remains in place for South Ballina and West Ballina and low-lying areas. The advice is to move to Austinville or to East Ballina. There are some evacuation centres currently being set up at the moment. Ballina CBD is also starting to be submerged in water. We saw a real panic at the petrol station there, people quickly filling up and trying to get out of here as soon as possible. The rain had stopped about half an hour ago, but it has just picked up, which is only adding to this serious situation. These waters are rising. Just to my left here is a few houses, and at one stage we saw an ambulance pull up, and there was an elderly man inside who is currently hooked up to oxygen because he's so panicked. He suffers from multiple health conditions, and the concern is that if he does start to panic too much, that they want to get him out of here immediately. So there are a lot of elderly residents who are of particular concern.
And overall, Mark, how are locals coping?
Well, at this stage, there is a slight sense of calm in certain areas, but there is also panic among people, particularly with younger children. I spoke to one mother who said that she got a panicked call at 6 a.m. this morning. She looked outside her window and the whole front garden was completely submerged in water. We have a nice couple behind the camera right now who are holding up an umbrella for our cameraman there. So residents are really trying to help each other out. We'll give them a bit of a shout out. But of course, the main sense of urgency is for people to leave if they can. But at this stage, the advice is it is too late to leave this particular area. The advice is to go to higher ground. Let's take a listen to what some residents had to say.
I just woke up this morning and I had missed calls and I looked out the front and it was just crazy. Just water everywhere. Yeah. I had to wake him up and quickly tell him to hurry up and pack a few bags and let's go.
He's got his oxygen tank and he's worried that if the electricity goes out, he won't be able to breathe. I don't know if he's got an auxiliary or one of those backpacks or not, but he's starting to worry about breathing issues.
A lot of our neighbours have lived here, 30 years plus, and they've never seen anything like it, so definitely a big shock.
Our colleague and ABC presenter Joe O'Brien is in Grafton, south of Lismore. Hey there, Joe, so what's going on?
G'day, Roz. So just to put this in a bit of context, we're about an hour south of where Mark Reddy was reporting from there in Ballina. We're on the Clarence River at Grafton. This is the catchment for this river is just a little inland from the catchment for the Wilsons River, which roared through Lismore and caused that extraordinary flooding there. And there, I'll just mention actually in relation to Lismore, the effort is ramping up again this morning in terms of the rescue of people there. It's not clear how many people there are still on their roofs, but our authorities were going out and hopeful that they were going to be able to get aircraft up today to rescue some of those people. But here in Grafton, taking a look across the Clarence at the moment, which is roaring through here, you can see South Grafton over there. It's hard to believe that the SES says there haven't been huge impacts here in Grafton because the levee has held. But further downstream in places, there's a little place called Ulmurra where the water has spilled over the levee there, and there's a community called Yamba down at the mouth of the Clarence, which is cut off at the moment.
What have people been telling you then about their experiences over the last couple of days?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned, in Grafton it hasn't been too bad, but just to the north of here, on the Richmond River, which is feeding into where Mark Reddy was just reporting from in Ballina, so it's about 30 k's south of Ballina, there's a little place called Woodburn, and it sounds like what is happening in Lismore yesterday is happening in Woodburn right now. The SES, I heard the SES commander there, or one of the SES officers there in that Woodburn area just in the last hour or so, who was just, basically sounded he was in despair and talking about how tough the situation was going to be over the next few days, describing how people were still stuck on their roofs, and that he put the call out for people with private people with boats who were able to go and report to the Woodburn SES who are in that vicinity, that have to boat in to get there, and to help with the rescue of people there. So it sounds like what happened in Lismore is happening there in Woodburn right now. He also mentioned that there were hundreds of people at the Woodburn school right now, the evacuation centre there, and he was saying that there is basically water through there are a few houses in Woodburn which haven't had water through them. There's water through nearly every house in Woodburn and through all the shops there. He was one of the shop owners. And yeah, so it just sounds like there's a really desperate situation unfolding there on the Richmond River, just to the south of Ballina, about 30 k's south of Ballina. And that water is headed for Ballina, which explains why there are all those evacuation orders for there right now.
Yeah, we'll keep across that unfolding situation. Joe, thank you. Well, now let's go south to Coramba, near Coffs Harbour. Reporter Bindi Bryce is there. Bindi, this wild weather system is expected to move south. How are communities on the mid-north coast getting ready?
Yeah, that's right. That weather system is expected to move into the Coffs Harbour region and also the mid-north coast region. So it's expected to affect communities here, although it's already having a pretty big impact so far. Even though it's only been minor to moderate flooding, we're seeing so many small towns and villages like this one here at Coramba, experiencing swollen rivers and having parts of their town cut off. Now, there are quite a few evacuation warnings for places in this area, and it's mainly residents who live in East Bellingham, North Maxville, and also areas in the Lawrence area that are being told to evacuate, especially if they live in low-lying properties. So there's quite a few evacuation warnings in place for this area over the next day or two, Roz. Okay,
what have conditions been like there this morning?
I think a lot of residents will be breathing a sigh of relief waking up this morning, because the rain has really eased off this morning and we're actually starting to see some slivers of sunshine coming through. So I think a lot of residents will be feeling quite happy about that. And we are hearing that a lot of the major river systems, especially the Ballina River, those rivers are starting to recede a little bit. So we are seeing a little bit of a reprieve here. However, there is a bit of worry about, water from other catchments that might come into these areas. And the SES says that they are quite worried about, these communities over the next day or two, even though they're not being hit hard as communities on the north coast are. And it's already causing a lot of problems. There's quite a few major roads like Waterfall Way, Galston Road, and also the Guarda Highway that have been cut off. There's also been some landslips along those roads as well. So look, the community certainly are feeling this weather system in the region. Even though it's not been as dangerous and threatening to homes, it's certainly causing a lot of problems at the moment.
All right, Bindi, thanks for the update.